Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, whether you're joining me from the present or the future. Welcome back to my FutureFight Vanguard series, where I talk about decks that are going to be good in the future, or coming out this set, or coming out the next set, or what have you. We are going to be talking a little about Ahsha today. We can get this working right here. So we are gonna load up our deck real quick. Alrighty. So we're gonna be talking about G-BT10 Ahsha today. As you guys know, if you follow my channel closely, you probably know that Ahsha and Neonectar is probably my favorite clan, if not one of my favorite clans. But the interactions with her are really cool, and the units are really cool looking and really detailed and designed. So I like it, and I've always liked playing it ever since I got into it like way back in the game. But without further ado, we're going to be talking about this Ahsha build. So first we have 4 of the new Ahsha, Ranunculus of Searing Heart Ahsha. So she has a Bloom ability that's Generation Break 2. And it says when you place a unit with the same card name as her, you countercharge 1 and you soul charge 1. Now this can be useful because if you have one of her in your hand and a stride fodder at the end of your opponent's turn, you can play her to the rearguard circle using her in phase ability, and then you can countercharge 1, soul charge 1, so that if you don't have it, if you don't have the counter blast and the soul blast for your if you don't have the Counterblast Soul Blast for your Stride skill the next turn, that's how you can fuel that. So she also has at the end of the turn, you can choose a unit from your hand and call it to rearguard, which is especially helpful because Ahsha doesn't let you do like alt mile and play units during the Stride skill. So when you go to your turn, you already want to have a unit on the board that's able to be copied, so that helps you with that, which is tons better than old Ahsha because of that. And the stride skill is kind of blast 1, soul blast 1. If you do, you choose one of your rear guards and you search your deck for one card with the same card name as that card and call it to rear guard. So you basically copy a unit and it gets boost. Next we're running 3 Eliana. So it has a Bloom ability. So the reason why I wasn't running 3 other Ahshas of the old Ahsha is because you have some moments in this deck where you don't have any of your Bloom targets in your hand. So I wanted more chances to have Bloom targets that were actually okay in this build. You could run what's that card called over this? Ines. You could run Ines over this. But I do like this card. It gives all of your when you place a unit with the same name as it on the board, all your rearguards with a Bloom ability get boost. So let's say that you place 2 Therias as Eliana, then the Eliana, you could just move them to the back row and they get boost, and then you can just attack for 20,000. And also when it's on the Vanguard circle and your unit's placed on rearguard, if you have another unit with that same card name, this unit gets 3,000 or plus 3,000 power. So you can actually, I meant to run the Rain Breath G Guardian in here, but on the defensive turn, you can call a Theria to the board as Amelia, and then you can have Amelia give 2k to Vanguard, and Eliana will give 3k to itself. So it's also a very good defensive Vanguard because it can be like 16k plus defense on your opponent's turn. Then we have 4 Robust Maiden Noelle. Noelle can basically attack from the back row if you have Ranunculus in your Vanguard's name. So basically if you're on an Ahsha or if you're on one of the Ahsha strides, you can discard 1 from your hand to activate it during the main phase, and then it can attack. It gets the ability to attack from the back row, and then it has a Bloom ability that when another unit is placed with the same name as it, all your rear guards in the same column, which is up and down, not left and right, get plus 4,000 power until the end of the turn. Pretty good card. My favorite new card is Good Flower Maiden Amelia. When I first saw this card, I really underestimated it, like a lot. But it actually does put in a really good amount of work in the deck, and makes for some huge columns. So whenever you place another unit with the same name as this one, meaning when you place Thuria as it, or you place Amelia as itself, you can choose up to 3 of your units. They get plus 2,000 power, and then if you have an Ahsha Vanguard, basically, then this unit gets boost. We have 4 Thurias, one of the best cards in new Neo Nectar, in my opinion. Even though this card is not new, it's just a card that will always be good in Ahsha decks, in my opinion. But when this card is placed on Rearguard Circle, you can choose one of your units, and this unit becomes its name if you have Ahsha as your Vanguard. So meaning, before you even place the unit, you choose the name, basically, and you play it. So when it's being placed, it triggers Bloom for whatever you choose. And then it also helps you recycle, because at the beginning of your main phase, you can choose a card from your drop zone with the same name as it, meaning Thuria or whatever you copied or whatever you turned the name into, and you can put it back to your deck and shuffle. Then we have 3 Lucy. Another one of my favorite cards from the new set is Soul Blast 1 and retire this unit. When your unit's attack hits a Vanguard while it boosted, you can choose one of your units and search your deck for one card with the same name as that unit, call it to Rearguard Circle, and shuffle your deck. And then if it has a Bloom ability, it gets 4,000 power. Pretty good card. It allows you multi-attacks without as many stand triggers as I used to run, which was 12. However, you don't run the Rani Marjuka version in this build, and there's a lot of cards that Soul Blast, so you kind of struggle to get that soul, which is why I mentioned new Ahsha's first Generation Break 2 ability, because your Generation Break 2 after first stride all the time. So, sorry guys. So then we have 4 Starsha. Basically Ahsha, but with star instead of Ah. But we have 4 Starsha. Her bloom is when another unit is placed with the same card name as this unit. And a reason why a lot of these new bloom cards say that instead of the exact name, like when an Amelia is placed, is because of the new starter Ida. So you rest this unit, and you can choose 2 units, and those units will count as each other for the rest of the turn. So basically, whenever you play, let's say that you have a Starsha on the board and a Noelle on the board in the same column. So if you play if you rest Ida, you turn Noelle and Starsha into each other. Whenever you play a Noelle, Starsha will bloom and Noelle will bloom, because they're both counted as Noelle. Or if you play a Starsha, Starsha will bloom and Noelle will bloom, because they're both counted as Starsha. So, or if you play a Thuria as either, it works the same. So, Starsha Soul Blast 1, rest this unit. When your other unit with the same card name is placed on Rearguard Circle, which is basically Bloom, when it blooms, you can countercharge 1, choose up to 2 of your units, and they get plus 4,000 power. So I think this card's pretty good, because you do go through a lot of counterblasts very quickly in this new Ahsha build because of Selfina. And then the second ability you never really use unless you are really struggling for rearguards, which this is Neo Nectar, we're never really struggling for rearguards like that. But if it's in the front row of your rearguards, it gets 2,000 power, turning into a 9k. So then we have 4 Flower Keeper Dragon. This is like a broken PG in my opinion. It basically just PGs your Vanguard, and if you're an Ahsha Vanguard, you get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck and get a card to add to your hand that's on the field. So, very good against non-destruction decks. Then we have 3 Stride Fodder, Padmini, pretty standard. Then we have Ida, I just talked about her. But she does have a first ability too that says Counterboss 1 and put into the soul. And then you can choose a unit from your drop zone, put it on the bottom of your deck. And if that card has the Bloom ability, draw a card. It's really I really only use it when I need to get Lisbeth back to the deck from my drop zone. It's useful for that. Otherwise, you might as well just keep it on the field and keep turning your units into the same units as each other. We run 4 Milas, the crit trigger, 4 Lisbeth. This is the Ahsha crit, by the way. Lisbeth is banned to 1 in Japan, but not America. And the reason for that is like an infinite loop that used to be. But this card is very, very good. It basically, whenever you play another Lisbeth, meaning if you play Elizabeth or Thuria, you can use the skill. You basically send this unit back to the deck. You choose a normal unit from your drop zone, and then you can return up to 4 of that normal unit with the same name to your deck. So basically, like, let's say that there is I need some stride fodders. So there's Ahshas in my drop zone. I play 2 Lisbeths, and then I can select Ahsha, return all the Ahshas in my drop zone to the deck, and return the Lisbeth as well, and then shuffle my deck and draw a card. And then I can do the same with the other Lisbeth, since they both have the skill now. So it's a pretty good card. Then we run 4 Maiden of Daybreak. Basically just gives 5,000 to 2 of your units when you play it, and then it shuffles back to the deck. Then we have 4 Heal. Pretty standard. So then we have, for the strides, 4 of the new strides, Selfina. Now, this is another card I really underestimated / didn't like at first until I used it. But I really, really like this card. I'm not sure if I like it more than Verana. But this card's definitely useful because of the critical that it gains for being so easy. And also, I was using Ilmatar before as the card that gives the critical pressure. But you can just use this card instead, because this card actually calls units and gains a critical for calling the unit. Ilmatar, you kind of have to have a setup board already, or a really good hand for it to be effective. So you rather just use this instead. Then we have 4 Dream Spinning Ranunculus Ahsha. Pretty standard. Like every Neo Nectar deck, I'm pretty sure runs 4 of this. This card's just way too good. It basically has 2 different skills. The first skill is choose one of your rear guards. So basically the way that you activate the skills is you turn a Dream Spinning Ranunculus Ahsha from your G zone face up. And then when you do that, it gets an activation skill. And then if you have 2 or more units face up in your G zone, basically Generation Break 2, then, Generation Break 3? Yeah. Basically, if you're Generation Break 3, then it gets another ability. But this is before Generation Break 3, so it doesn't say Generation Break 3. So until the end of the turn, this unit gets an act ability that says choose one of your rear guards, and if you have 2 or more rear guards with the same name as that unit, all your units in the front row get plus 5,000. So since this is a skill that's giving it a skill that you have to activate, you do have to declare twice that you're activating it. Like, let's say that someone tries to rule shark you at like a regionals or something, like you do have to declare twice. And if you don't before you attack, then your units won't get the plus 5,000 power, because they are 2 different abilities. One, the first ability is giving your Ahsha the ability that it can choose to activate for free, and then you say that you would just like to trigger the ability that you just gave. So the GB3 skill I was talking about is you can choose one of your rear guards, search your deck for 1 card with the same name as that unit, and call it, and it gets plus 2,000 power. Basically does what the old Ahsha did for free. So she just allows you a free copy. Very, very good. Then we have 2 Ranunculus and Glorious Bloom Ahsha. She's counter boss 1, soul boss 1, and choose a face down card from your G zone and turn it face up. Usually with this skill, you want to turn Dream Spinning Ahsha face up, because for every Dream Spinning Ahsha that's face up, it gets a bonus. So you choose one of your units and you copy it, and then you choose 4 units with the same name as the unit you just called, and they get plus 5,000 for every Dream Spinning Ahsha face up in your G zone. So let's say that you use Ahsha first, you flip Ahsha, and then you use this Ahsha and flip this Ahsha, and then the units that have the same name as the one you called get 15k power, and then they get 20k power when you use the second one. So it's pretty good to finisher. People usually don't survive 4 Selfina and then because what I do in this deck is I'll use Selfina, then Selfina flip Ahsha, then Selfina flip Ahsha, and then Glorious flip Ahsha, Glorious flip Ahsha. So we actually never go into this unless we're in a really bad situation. So next we have Inverno. Inverno's pretty good. You Soul Blast 1. Its first ability is you can Soul Blast 1, choose 5 normal units from your drop zone and rear guard, which is important because sometimes you want to be able to copy units and they're on your field, and so you can't trigger Bloom if they're already on your field from a previous turn. So if you Soul Blast 1, you can choose cards from your rear guard circle, return them to your deck, shuffle, and if you return 5, so you get to choose up to 5. So if you choose to return 5, you get to counter charge 1, soul charge 1. So pretty much all the time you want to return 5. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't want to return 5. But Generation Break 2, it has a Generation Break 2 ability. When any unit is placed on the rear guard circle, you can counterboss 1 and discard a card from your hand. And if you do, choose one of your units with the Bloom ability and search your deck for 2 cards with the same name as that. So it allows you to get 2 of your units that have Bloom. So when you play Ahsha, when you play Eliana, Noelle, Amelia, Starsha, and Lisbeth, basically. When you play any of those, it's going to allow you to counterboss 1 and search your deck for 2 of them, which is really helpful when you're doing it with Lisbeth, because you can just return your whole drop zone to your deck by continuously doing it. Then we have one Celine. I pretty much never go into her, but she's just here for trolls. You can probably replace her with Sabriz. But when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, you can counterboss 1 and choose a card from your hand, call it to rearguard circle, and that unit gets plus 5,000 power. And then if the unit called has a Bloom ability, you can counter charge 1, soul charge 1. So it's just a free call, basically, as long as you call a Bloom unit. Then we run 2 Marlena and 2 Verna. I meant to run some Rain Breath Guardians in here, but you can take out what you see fit. So 2 Marlena. Marlena is when she's placed on guard circle, you choose one of your units, and if you have 2 or more units with Ranunculus in the card name, or you have 4 or more units with the name that you chose, then this unit gets plus 15,000 shield. So it's a 41k shield by itself. And then Verna just says choose one of your rear guards, and then for every other rear guard with your same name as that unit, then you get 5,000 power. So you can actually surpass Marlena's shield with this, but a lot of times you don't, because you choose a unit on your board. So let's say that you choose the left side rear guard circle right here that my mouse is hovering, and then it counts for these other 4 circles. So let's say that all 5 of these units have the same name. So you select this one, and then Verna gets plus 20,000 shield. So it can be a 46k max. But usually you'll just have 1 or 2 units on the field that are the same as each other. So it'll be 31k or 36k guard. With that being said, let's get right into the games that I have for you guys. While I'm doing that, I just wanted to mention thank you for those of you that came out to MomoCon, said hi. I really enjoyed the experience. It was nice meeting a lot of different people that played Vanguard. Even though they didn't have a Vanguard tournament, there was a lot of you that reached out and came and said hi, and that you watched my YouTube channel and all of that, and I really appreciate that. Also, I'm not going to New Jersey anymore because the people that I scheduled the trip with, or the store in specific that I scheduled my trip with, canceled. So I guess from now on, I learned my lesson. I'm going to be scheduling my own trips, but that is unfortunate. I'm sorry for those of you that wanted to see me at New Jersey, but I will not be able to make that trip. I think the next trip that I will be able to make is probably I don't think I'm going to the Long Beach, California event. Probably the ARG Nationals in August. I think that's the next big tournament that I will be at. So you guys can look for me there. And once again, I'm sorry about not being able to make New Jersey. It was kind of like an unexpected development, even to me. Like, it caught me off guard. So I do apologize for that. But we're getting right into the games. So we kind of get like a bad hand. We're facing blasters. He's running old stuff too, which is weird, but we're working with it. So we do ride Starsha, and we choose to just attack for 12 here, because our hand is actually pretty bad. I don't know if people could tell by looking at it, but it's not just because we don't have a grade 3. It did get better with us getting that Amelia, because we do want to have a copy target. But I did no guard his first attack and damage check a Flower Keeper. Then he uses Wingle Brave to search and exceed, which is fine. Blaster's most consistent deck, no problem. So we do choose to just go ahead and rush here. And play our Lucy's as well, just to get off more potential that he won't guard. So then we do attack 14 because we run crits and stands. So he does guard 1 to pass, which I think's dumb, but he does it. We put the stand trigger power on the Vanguard and we stand the rear guard. So he does take a damage, then we attack him for 9, and he takes a damage, and then we attack him for 16, and he does take a damage again, I think. Yeah, so because of him guarding foolishly, I think that he's at more damage than he should be. But you know, he does use Blast Blade skill to kill Noelle, which I don't know why he wouldn't just use Exceed skill to kill. But he did try to use Exceed skill to kill my starter. But Exceed can only be activated when it's placed on Vanguard Circle. Also, it cannot kill grade 0s. It can only kill 1s and higher. So he does attack my Vanguard. I do damage check because if I do have to G-assist, I can't basically guard this turn, or else I would have guarded that. He does end his turn because I check a trigger and he doesn't hit me. So I draw a card, and I choose not to G-assist because even if I G-assisted, I wouldn't be able to stride, which would be really crappy to put him into the ability to stride while I can't stride. So I do attack him for 16. And he does double guard, and then I attack him for 14. And he guards for a 2 to pass, or no pass, because he is 11k. And then I check, and then I attack him for 14. And he does PG using PG because I guess he wants to keep this Star Call Trumpeter. So he draws a crit. He plays Star Call Trumpeter. He uses the skill to counter boss 2 and get a blaster. So he does call Exceed, and he doesn't use Exceed's rearguard skill. Oh, sorry, yeah. I did notice that while I was playing. I told him that he couldn't call a grade 3 because he has to call a 2 or less, and he chooses to call Blaster Blade. So I no guard his Vanguard. He checks Alfred, which was a big surprise. But there goes one of my grade 3s, Eliana. Really unfortunate. But he does attack my rearguard, I think, or something like that. But I do G-assist, and I do not get it. I do not get to grade 3, so pretty awful. But it's like I've been rushing him so much, like maybe I should have just done this strategy from the beginning or whatnot. But he did quit the game at this point because he did realize that he can't guard a 16 and then a 14 and then a 21. So he did quit the game without even checking to see if he got a heal trigger, which is unfortunate, but I think we basically had that game in the bag anyways. So kind of sucks that we didn't get the stride phase there because it is a stride deck, but it does show the potential of rushing your opponent and the things that rushing can do when you're in a bad situation. So we're loading up the second Ahsha game here. We're actually playing against Chaos Wrecker, which is low-key horrible, but I feel like I made a couple misplays in this game that might have cost me. I did choose to not like G-assist because I went first and I didn't have a grade 1. Unfortunately, I did have to still end up G-assisting after he got a crit on me while I was still on grade 0. And then I had to get rid of 2 of my triggers so that I wouldn't get rid of my bloom targets. So it was ultimately pretty unfortunate. I kind of wonder how this game would have went if I didn't have to G-assist. And if he didn't crit me in the first 2 turns, putting me to 4 damage. But this is Vanguard, and we play with what we're given. So we do just try our best to kind of change the game in our favor. He does play Chaos Bringer and lock my starter, and then he plays Colony Maker so that he can get a grade 1, which he's getting the limit break, and then he got Bolt Line to boost his Vanguard with the starter. Then he does play a Zinc and use the ability to counter charge 2, soul charge 2, and he's attacking my Vanguard right now, and I 2'd past it because I didn't want him to crit me, but unfortunately I could have just not guarded at all, which kind of sucks knowing that. But we do stride going into Selfina, knowing that we'll be able to use her only once kind of sucks, but that also is what it is. We do copy with Ahsha skill and bloom the Noels. So Noel not only sorry guys. So Selfina gives 2k to this Noel and then copies a Noel from my deck because I have a Selfina face up. And then Noel blooms. This Noel gets 4k, this Noel gets 4k, and this gets 4k. And then I use the Generation Break 2 ability to discard a card in order for the Noel in the back row to attack. So I do attack for 13, he intercepts. Then I do attack for 15. And then I attack for 26. I do check a crit. And I give all the power to the Noel. And so since he only has 4 cards in his hand, I wonder what would have happened had I checked like crit stand to make up for the fact that I G-assisted. But he probably would have had to waste his entire hand. And then I would have liked to see how he fared from there and if I would have won. But he does use Chaos Universe skill to lock my back rows, and I'm forced to no guard this basically, and he does get a crit. So it's a pretty unfortunate game for us. I did have to G-assist for 1, which in my opinion is the worst thing that you have to G-assist for. Like, people complain about G-assisting to get to 3. I don't mind G-assisting to 3, but like G-assisting to 1 is awful. Like, literally awful, because you're at such an early point in the game where you don't want to lose advantage or be rushed, and your opponent knows that they can just take advantage of you so much, like if you have to G-assist into a 1. So, third game here, we are playing against Cosmic Heroes. Yeah, we're playing against Grand Gallop, basically. We do start first, and we do get a 1, 2, 3 in our hand this time. So, it's pretty good. There'll be no G-assisting on either side, it seems. So, we do ride and call, and then attack with Amelia. He takes it, and then we attack with 14. He no guards, and we check a heal. So, we're off to a pretty good start. Plus, we want our normal units in the drop zone so they can return to our deck. So we do no guard this. He doesn't check a crit, which I was thinking that he was going to like even the odds or whatever. But we are in a really good position this game, basically because we are making him drop cards from his hand, as well as being on the attack, and him being on more damage. So he does ride and stride into whatever this card is called, X lead. Yeah, I had forgotten about it. So he does kind of +1 here on accident, because he miscalculated for the Vanguard skill, I guess. But now he's using Grand Rifter to kind of +1 soul +1 and give +4,000 to itself and to the Vanguard. And then if your Vanguard attacks and it's 40,000 power or more, you draw a card. So he does attack my rear guard for 17, which I blocked because I do want that rear guard. And then I do no guard. So he checks a draw trigger and a stand trigger and another stand trigger. Like, thank goodness he didn't have 2 rear guards on the field. Would have been pretty awful, actually. But I think he just chooses to end his turn there. Or maybe he attacked Noel. I'm not sure. I think he attacked Noel. But at the end of the turn phase, I play Elizabeth from my hand. And then I choose to use Ahsha's skill to kind of boss Soul Blast and then call Elizabeth. I could have used Selfina's skill here. But I used Edith's skill to make Elizabeth and Selfina the same. Or sorry, Elizabeth and Amelia the same. And then I start using Elizabeth's skill to return it to my deck, shuffle, draw a card. Now I play another Elizabeth and Amelia and Elizabeth blooms, so Elizabeth gets the ability, and then Amelia blooms, giving 2k, 2k, and 2k to the Elizabeth that I'm just going to put back anyways. So I put back Ahsha's this time, shuffle and draw. And then this time I'm putting back Noel, shuffle and draw. And then I basically use Selfina to counter boss 1 here and flip a Selfina, giving 2k to this Amelia, and then calling a Selfina from my deck out of the ones I just put back. So that's pretty good. Then Amelia blooms, giving 2k to 3 units. And then we play an Amelia in the back row because it can boost if we give it bloom. And then we do play a Lucy here, so we're in a pretty good position. So we do attack for 26. Our opponent does attempt to guard, but they realize that they have to G-guard because the attack's too big for them, I guess. But that is 26 against 26, and then he uses a 5k. And then we attack with our rear guard, 24, and he does take it. So we use Lucy's skill to Soul Blast 1 and retire the unit, and then we can call one of our units with the bloom ability to the field. I do unrest these just to see which one is bigger by itself, and I call the Amelia over it, and then bloom happens 3 times, since when you call over a unit, it blooms basically before it goes to the drop zone. So then I attack him for 19. He guards the 2 5Ks, and then I attack him for 40, and he no guards. And I check out Ahsha, a stand trigger, so I do stand one of my Amelias, and then I attack him for 28. He drops 2, and that was a pretty good turn for us. Like, we basically drained a plethora of cards from his hand while putting him at 5 damage. Had he been at 5 damage during the entire assault, I think he would have died. But then again, if he had been at 5 damage during the entire assault, Lucy's skill wouldn't have gone off. So, but he does go into Excalibur here, and he uses the skill of the stand trigger to, if it's 35 or more, draw a card or something at the beginning of the battle. So he does attack us for 11. And then I do no guard it, and I think he gets 4 drive checks. Yeah. So I do no guard. He checks a Grand Rifter, that grade 3, a draw trigger, and draws into a PG and checks a PG. So it's pretty cool for him. I didn't really realize that he got that, but at the end of the turn I play Elizabeth. You stride into Selfina. We're gonna be using We should have used, well, yeah, so we made Amelia, we used Edith's skill to make Amelia and Lisbeth the same. And then we wanted to use Lisbeth's skill here, or Edith's skill to get it out of the way. But then we wouldn't have enough counterbots for Selfina. So I just decided to go ahead and use Selfina to call to Lisbeth, yeah. So then Amelia blooms 4 times since there are 2 Amelias technically being played. So we do shuffle draw a good amount of times, getting us units and cards back to our hand. And then we do play Starsha, and we have no soul, so we should have played this Milas crit, but unfortunately we didn't. We do attack him with our weak rear guards, and we don't check a stand trigger, which is unfortunate, so he does get another turn. He goes into X Gallop, the stride again, giving it the on-stride ability, and now he's using the skill of Grand Wagon to give plus 4,000 to another unit, so he gives it to Grand C this time. I do take this attack just so that I can PG this one, but he does give power, so I get the PG skill and I add an Ahsha to my hand. That's why I always say that this PG is broken. Like, if you didn't have stride fodder, now you do. So I draw. In hindsight, I should have played the Searing Heart Ahsha, but instead I just decided to ride one, which I guess is fine too, except it doesn't give me a counter blast back. It just gives me a soul, basically. So I decided to call Starsha with the bloom, and then I realized that I couldn't use it. So I could have even played it. I could have even played Ahsha off of Ahsha, then rode Ahsha, and had 2 soul, which is why I said I should have used the Milas crit. But I basically messed up this turn. However, I don't think it matters much. But he does take the first attack, and then he guards the second one with the G Guardian, which is only 16, and then the 33k attack he PGs, and I do not check his stand trigger again, so he does get another turn. I also forgot to use the Milas crit here. Like, guys, I'm sorry, I'm literally dumb, but I do allow him to hit me with his rear guard, so he does give 4k to his Vanguard in that, and then he's using the crit skill twice, and I knew that I could just PG this again, so, but I do G guard this time, because I think that I can no pass it, maybe. Actually, I don't even know why I did that. Oh, actually, I think it's so that I could clear my board. Okay, yeah. I did that to clear my board, basically. So, Ahsha in face skill, I could play Lisbeth. Yeah, it makes sense now. So, still, instead of riding Ahsha, I don't know if I was tired or what, but instead of riding Ahsha, you should always just call her with the Generation Break 2 ability to the rear guard circle, because then you'll get a counter charge and a soul charge, and not just a counter charge. So we do go into normal dream spinning here, and we draw a card off of our Lisbeths, putting back some crucial cards into the deck, shuffle drawing. Now it says that we have 0 cards on the deck, but like I said on previous recordings, Whenever you put cards back to your deck in an area during the recording, it doesn't show that cards are actually going back into your deck. So I still have cards in my deck. It's just however many cards I've returned to the deck this game. So it doesn't really show, which is unfortunate, but you know. But I do use Dream Spinning Skill to call a second Milas crit and give plus 5k to my front row. I do attack him for 15 with a Milas crit just to be semi-disrespectful. And then we do attack him for 21 with the other rearguard circle, and then he takes it. The game's over. We don't get to use our 2 Milas crits right here. But overall, those were a really fun trio of games. And that will be the Ahsha FutureFight for today. So thank you guys for checking it out. Like I said, thank you guys for those of you that came out to MomoCon. As you can see, I'm wearing my MomoCon shirt right now. So thank you for those of you that came out to MomoCon, said hi. I really appreciated meeting you guys. And also, if you guys liked the video, like, comment, subscribe. Let your friends know. Let me know what you thought about the video in the comments down below. And also check out the description. There's lots of ways to help out the channel there if you want to support. There's hoodies, there's the Patreon, there is a bunch of cool stuff down there. So I think that when I get to 500 subscribers, I'm going to do like a special giveaway or something like that. But we will see what I decide to do for that. But until next time, it's been Cardfight Empire, and I'm signing out. You guys have a great day.